Now, Joe is the chairman and CEO of Acquirent LLC. Joe, welcome to the show, and how are you, first off?
Great. I'm great, Keith. Thanks for bringing me in. I don't even know. I hardly recognize the person you're describing.
Well, that's you, my friend. Well, listen, as I like to say in this show, you've done quite a bit. And tell us, who is Joe Flanagan?
Wow. Like Les Mis, who am I? I'm Jean Valjean. I do want to come back to some of the other interesting things you talked about in terms of the
Please do.
outsourced sale,
Please do.
but
Please
but
do.
I can come back to that later. I was kind of scribbling some notes down, but I grew up in the north side of Chicago,
Okay.
and went to a Catholic Jesuit high school, Loyola Academy,
Okay.
where had a great experience there, and then went to Northwestern. And I was a political science major, not heavy on the science, more on the political. But and I was actually a student athlete there. I played basketball,
I thought
and I
so.
was and I was not very good. I started as a walk on and ultimately earned a scholarship, but it was an
Well, you had to be
unbelievable.
pretty good to get that.
Well, or persistent, hanging around the rim a lot. But it was a wonderful experience with incredible group of young men, who have gone on for the most part to have wonderful careers in business and in families and successes. And I keep in touch with almost all of them. Who we go through that journey. Now, unlike football, I mean, it's a smaller group, right? It's just three or
Right.
four
Right.
guys in a class, but it was a great experience for me and really helpful in my development.
Well,
But
I've known you for a few years now, and I have known you as an athlete. Thought I remembered you playing basketball, but I wasn't real sure about that. And what I love is that you're a Big Ten guy. I'm a Big Ten guy. I went to Wisconsin, of course. I always give Northwestern as much hell as I can, but it's all Big Ten love. And
it's all Big
so
Ten love.
is all Big Ten love. And so, as we start this discussion, as a follow up question to that, I have to believe that your journey as an athlete and your journey on the north side and your journey, with your guys had something to do with your success and your methodology. So is there some truth behind that?
For sure, for sure. But I think the one thing about sports, if you look back
Uh huh.
and all the things that um, you acquire from being an athlete and through those, and we had some bad years, so it was rugged. I mean, we would get pounded by Michigan, and I loved our coach. Our coach was an amazing guy, tremendously positive, and we'd be at Michigan, who was ranked two in the country with
Oh,
Roy
trust me, I
Tarpley
know.
and Richard Ralphley and um, Butch Wade and Antoine Jobert and
Right.
Gary Grant. I mean, that was they were a top two or three team in the country. We'd get pounded by them, and then we'd get in the bus and go to Michigan State and play Scott Skiles and Ben Tower. And by the time we got there, our coach had us convinced we were going to win this game, right? So there was a lot of that. But the thing that I think as I get further away is the ability to really um, understand as a young man
Uh huh.
how you get connected and interwoven with so many people that are not in your life. Like we had, I grew up in the,
Yeah, I like that.
I grew up I had, parents that loved me. I went to good schools. I never wanted for anything. And I grew up with an unbelievable guy who grew up in Watts
Okay.
and he was a valedictorian of Urban Day and just a tremendous guy. But he had a very different life experience for me. And so the things that I remember the most are the late night bus rides back when
Okay.
you'd be sitting there and it was total pitch black Friday, Saturday night. Um, and we were coming back from Wisconsin or Michigan State. And you'd be talking about what it was like as a little kid or, what it was like in high school and the things that you learned to
Yeah.
appreciate from other people,
Yeah.
particularly as a young white guy with a talking with
Yeah.
a bunch of black guys that had
Right.
different experiences. Not all of them, but
Right.
man, it was eye opening, and it was so um, so important in my development that I understand how fortunate I was, and how my life had been so blessed. And
Okay.
so
I appreciate that.
that's a real takeaway. And, you and I live in Evanston, and it's a place where we have this attempt to merge all these cultures together
Yes.
in a in a peaceful and loving way. And we're not there, but um, it was one of my major
Right.
takeaways that got
Right.
me to
Okay.
Evanston.
So when did you, I want to talk a little bit about the JP Flanagan Corporation. And when did you realize that one of your strengths was sales as a function?
Well, I think I came out of the womb selling, right? So I mean, I
Okay.
was, I was always asking for the order. I was always, pushing, as an
Closing the
aggressor.
deal, right?
So that, brings another conversation about, what makes a great salesperson and can
Gotcha.
anybody sell. But I was going back to the student athlete thing. I was lucky enough to rub elbows with a guy named Pat Ryan. Pat
Okay.
Ryan was the father of Aon Corporation,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
probably for 25 years the most important businessman in Chicago. I
Yeah.
mean, he is, Ryan Field, Welsh Ryan Arena, all
Yep.
the Northwestern stuff, and he's he's in. We got a chance to interact at Northwestern, and he asked me to come work for him at Aon, and it was 25,000 people, so it wasn't exactly like I was working directly for him, but it was a great opportunity to go to work at Aon, which was then called Combined International, and he set up a program for me uh, to work within the domestic companies for a year,
Okay.
learning the insurance business. And then my wife and I got married, and we went to London 9 days later, and we lived in London for a year.
Okay.
And so it was a great experience where we had a chance to, really get away and learn a different culture and learn how the insurance business was done from London. And I
Life
got
is
into
like
this.
life is a journey,
Yeah,
it's a journey. Yeah. But
it's
go
a good
ahead.
journey. It's a good journey. We got back to the States, and I got involved in this professional liability area, which is a really niche part of the insurance business. That's like malpractice insurance for
Okay.
doctors and lawyers and accountants. And I uh, got really pigeonholed into this legal malpractice area of expertise, and the accountants. And then I ultimately, um, I remember my boss coming into my room, my office one day, and closing the door and say, "I just saw third quarter results. Do not expect a raise next year." And I thought,
Oh wow.
hmm, that's interesting. I'm having a great year. You know,
Yeah.
I was a first time manager, and I was managing a group of young sales people selling professional liability accounts. It was a big program we had, and we were
Okay.
killing. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. And I kind of walked out my door, and I looked down the hall, and I saw all these, you know, middle aged
Right.
folks, you know, just
Right.
uninspired. And I'm like, they're making so much more than me. And
Right.
I'm working so much harder and getting better results. I don't, this doesn't jive. Like,
Gotcha.
if these guys
Gotcha.
aren't working hard, I'm working hard, and I'm getting jammed on my comp. So I really started at that moment thinking
Okay.
about what it would be like to start my own business. And it was really started about making more money.
Gotcha.
And I was like, I can make more money. I got to do this. And as I got closer, and I started to really think through. Now, remember, this is 1992,
Okay.
so I'd
Okay.
never turned on a computer.
Gotcha.
I'd never, done a proposal. I mean, it was. So I was making a list of things I had to do in order to get through a year, right? So it
Gotcha.
was I had to buy a computer, paper, letterhead, stationery, business cards, uh, you know, things to laminated things to put proposals in, and things
Right.
like that we used to do. And so I kind of built this whole thing, and I went to my wife. We had two little kids at that point, and it's never easy to not have an income, and
Yeah.
but
Say
I'm a
that
good
again.
salesman, so I got it done. No, and so
Right.
she's like, I'm with you, brother. Let's, whatever you want to do, I'm with you. And
Okay.
kind of funny, we had dinner last night. She said the same thing to me. So not 36 years
You
later,
got
not
the
much.
right one, Joe.
Yeah,
You got the right one.
yeah. And so So I thought about it, and as I'm getting closer to the date, this thing started to change.
Gotcha.
The idea of starting my own business became not about how much money I could make, but
Hmm.
what about building something,
Gotcha.
building a company, building an organization, building a culture, building something that I could be proud of, and that would be a lot of fun.
Now,
And
did you? I mean, I think that point is really critical because a lot of entrepreneurs um, recreate a job. It sounded like you pivoted from creating a job to creating a company. Did
yeah,
you do anything special to make that transition?
uh, yes and no. I mean, I could tell you that I could make something up to say, but I tweaked the model a little bit.
Gotcha.
Most mid law firms bought insurance through an agency in their state, meaning that agency was controlled by two or three agents, all who had different products. And so what I
Gotcha.
did is I got licensed in all these states, and I went and said, "Hey, I got these three
Wow.
products, and I got three or four more." So I was
Okay.
bringing new carrier insurance companies into the market, which
Okay.
I was acting as a broker. That's not exactly innovation, but it was different for these law firms that really just had two or three options, and so it was. I tweaked them up. I wouldn't say it was
But
a
but but but, but you were
it was
targeted.
mind blowing.
Right. You were targeted, you were focused,
Yeah,
and that's good. You weren't
yeah.
selling, life insurance, which I think is
No,
a crowded market. But you're selling something much more specialized.
much more specialized. And again, I'm a 27-year-old kid, right? And these
Yeah.
I'm going into these law firms with these 50, 60-year-old folks
Right.
that are saying, "Yeah, what are you going to?" And you just go in there straight up, and you tell them what you're doing. And I mean, I was shocked. And again, you don't start by writing Baker McKenzie. You're right by
Right.
start. You build your
Right.
business on these smaller
Right.
firms, and but I was just me. I had no overhead. I had a briefcase, and now I had a
Gotcha.
computer and letterhead and you know,
Right. Right.
laminated things. And so we had, so that's where it started. I first hired my brother. I hired an assistant, and then another guy who, uh, went on to build kind of a commercial property casualty group. And then, so we built this organization. We had offices in Cleveland and Denver and LA and New York. And but
Oh
again,
wow.
really
Oh
small, one or two,
yeah.
three people, where they were selling insurance, right? They were selling
Gotcha.
professional liability. And again, the
Right.
insurance business is kind of unique because it's not, for the most part, not regulated by the national government. Each state has its own uh, rules and regulations. It's kind of a protection. So that's why we had some certain places we put actual bodies and people that were licensed to do business there. So again, not particularly innovative, but different. But I kept it small, and we were a sales organization, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, and
And I know you wanted to make a couple of comments about some of the stuff that I'd said earlier. I wanted to also spend some time. I bet you have of course in my mind you have a PhD in selling. What makes in your mind a good salesperson?
are you just throwing me a softball here? Are you
Yeah,
just throwing
come
me a
on.
softball?
Yeah. Well,
I actually, we talk about this all the time at Acquirent and some of the other companies I consult with through distributed ventures. And so I think there are five incredible attributes to being a great salesperson. And I
okay.
actually stack rank them.
You
And if,
do. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And so you can go out on my LinkedIn and you can see a lot of this thing. The most important, well, you tell me, give me what you think the most important attributes to being a great salesperson. You got to give me two,
The ability to explain your value proposition,
right?
the ability to not take no as an answer and keep figuring out how you can um, get to them saying a yes. You have to be persistent without wasting their time or irritating them. You have to me, add value to and solve their problem and not yours. Those are my two. You're the
Yeah,
expert. Huh?
you gave me four and five, which are
Okay.
great answers. There was great answers. I
Okay.
think the most important attribute to being a great salesperson is an undying positive attitude.
Okay.
That's it, right? I mean, you're talking about um, how you approach a sales situation. You got a choice. I'll make another analogy. Think about the last time you went to a restaurant. The server was there, and they say to you, uh, thanks for coming to whatever ABC. I'd like to tell you the specials today. Specials are the tomato soup, and we've got a grilled cheese sandwich with bacon. Versus the experience of, hey, thank you for coming to ABC Restaurant. It's great to have you here. Let me tell you about the specials. We have a wonderful soup today that's absolutely terrific. You can put a little Parmesan cheese in there, and it's great. And we've got the best grilled cheese and bacon in town. I would say those are great specials. It's a great Tuesday special. You're going to love it. Now, that's a very different sales experience.
Very much so.
So when you're in sales and you're on the phone communicating or you're face to face, bringing that energy and that enthusiasm and that confidence about what you're selling is really infectious. People like that. Now that gets back to the question of can anybody sell? And let me go back to hit all five and then to do the second most important attribute to being a great salesperson is the art of asking good questions.
Okay. I agree with that wholeheartedly.
I mean, so every salesperson that's in there, you go into every sales meeting with 2 or 3 questions.
Gotcha.
That you got to ask.
Okay.
And then you got the third, you have to have the ability and the willingness to shut up and listen.
Not everybody's got that skill set. Yeah.
Right. I mean, not everyone's got that. Right. So
Yep.
you ask the questions and you have the patience to listen to the answers because they're going to tell you, if you're asking the right questions, some of the pain points, some of the things that you can concentrate on when you're doing the fourth thing, which is what you said, is knowing your products and services and how they apply to the prospect, right? How can you take the information that you've acquired and use that to lay that into that person? Imagine buying a car. If the salesperson didn't say, what are you looking for? You don't know if they're looking for, a family car, a speed car, a convertible, so the ability to ask good questions and then shut up and listen allows you to be really effective as a salesperson. And the fifth is grit. Again, the one you talked about, the toughness and the willingness to keep grinding it out to do it because it's been, it's a grind. You encounter a lot of no's along the way. So again,
no, please finish if you're going to make your point.
No. Positive, undying positive attitude, the willingness to, or the ability to ask good questions, the willingness to shut up and listen, understand your product and how it fits, and then grit and the toughness to get it done.
And then a great segue into, can anybody be a salesperson?
I think so. I think that it's easier for other people, right? I mean, I don't think I could be a doctor. I don't think I have that kind of in my DNA, but I think a lot of people can. I've seen a lot of people that you'd never be surprised. You'd be surprised that they're as effective. They're really genuine. They're curious. They're empathetic. Mm-hmm. And they can go into a situation and really connect with people through empathy, through being disarming, and then people start to talk to them. And if they're really skilled at understanding their product, they can then kind of roll out the value prop. So I think most people can be really effective salesperson, but you got to try. Like, and people that talk too much, it doesn't work.
Right. Because I was going to ask you, one of the questions that I had is selling an art or a science? And based on our conversation, and hearing you say everybody can be, lends me to that it can be a science. But I do believe that there are just some people who are just better orators, gifted at being able to sell and show you their value proposition that they have, which and they have that bubbly personality, and it's effective, but you may have a different perspective to the art or science statement that I just made.
I think it's more of an art. I do.
Okay.
I think it's more of an art, just because it's pretty nuanced and everybody can do it. They've got to make a commitment to doing it, right?
Okay.
And again, you hear people, well, she didn't call me back. Well, game on, let's go. I mean,
no,
that's right. That's not a thing.
So Joe, you started JP Flanagan Corporation, sold it, went into to Hub International. What's the pivot to Acquirent? Because those were insurance products,
Yeah, yeah.
and now at Acquirent, you're pretty much taking on a whole slew of different industries, I assume. You want to tell us a little bit more about Acquirent and how you got there?
Yeah, Acquirent as a company is a professional inside sales company. So our primary motion is picking up the phone and making outbound calls on behalf of our clients to to either create a lead for them
Okay.
or um, or to take it to close, right? And sometimes we have inbound leads, but it's generally the hard stuff is picking up the phone and making those outbound calls. And you did a great job of kind of introducing the industry and what it did. A couple other things I'd add in there is, sometimes there are companies that are door to door, right? We don't do
Hmm.
door to door, but you'll have companies that outsource that to sell, uh, you know, pens and paper
Gotcha.
and other recycling and refurbishing types of products. But it's good to get in there and talk to some people. It's a great method to lower your overhead. It's a
Oh
great,
yeah.
if you imagine what it takes to hire a salesperson for a kind of small
Yeah.
mid-sized company, it's a long time. The
Yeah.
interviewing, the onboarding, the whole thing.
Yep.
Companies like ours we can flip a switch and have it done in 3 or 4 weeks, right? So I mean
That's
that's
pretty amazing because I tell you, I tend to think that a lot of companies. Well, let me not say it that way. I think every company understands they need to generate revenue to the top line. I think you have some people inside of companies that have a in my opinion, a negative view of sales. And what they don't understand is that everybody is selling,
yeah.
whether you're sell and so the and so in as you have built out your company, are there industries that are more difficult for your business model?
Um, Yeah, I mean the healthcare businesses. We do a lot in healthcare, and it's hard, particularly selling into hospitals because they're all
Trust me,
so
I know that
busy.
one.
Yeah, yeah, and there's try to get a hold of a chief medical officer at a mid-sized hospital. It's really hard, right? But they need to be some of these new products and technology that's in the medicine today is amazing from some wonderful companies. But I'll go back to your original question. I actually didn't start acquiring. I after when I left the insurance business, I had signed agreements to be out of the business for a long time, so I knew I wasn't. I mean, if I, the thing about me is that I have about an 8 to 10 year shelf
Gotcha.
where I and then I kind of say I need to change.
Gotcha.
Um, Thankfully, it doesn't apply to my personal life, but um,
Yeah.
or my
Right.
so, but kind of a shift in my career. So I was um, in the in the insurance business for 18 years. I did JP Flanagan Corp for 9, and I did Hub for 3, and then I bounced out of there. I took a summer off. We had 5 children. It was amazing summer. My little 3-year-old would come to the side of the bed and say, "Dad, what are we doing today?" So
Right.
he
Right.
thought Dad was always home. Uh,
Right.
but and then I rented office space. My wife said, "Hey, I loved having you around, brother, but you got to get out of here.
You got to get out
Um,
of here.
you got to get out of here." So I rented office space in downtown Evanston, and I knew I was going to put together a consulting company, working with law firms, accounting firms, insurance companies, and teaching them how to sell and the importance of sales. And so I built a consulting practice, and I liked it okay. But it really wasn't, I found my real interest and passion in driving the bus,
Gotcha.
not stepping into a classroom or being with these folks, professionals, and teaching them skills, and then kind of going away and coming back in a couple of weeks, and they hadn't done it. Like, it's usually I was used to being okay. We're going left, and then everybody goes left, right? So they did their own thing, which again. We all have our own journeys. We all have our own journey. So, but I was getting involved in other smaller businesses, and I got involved with this company called Acquirent. that was an outsourced sales company. I thought this is kind of in my sweet spot, right? How do you build a sales process for some of these organizations? And we work for Amazon, we've worked for Enterprise, we work for American
Wow.
Medical Association. I mean, we work for big companies, and we work for a lot of small companies.
Wow. You
And
work for Amazon. I mean, I
yeah,
thought, yeah, that's cool.
no. We and they got a great solution that we work for them, and it was a hard thing for us to crack. We didn't really crack it, but and I
Yeah.
I don't know that I could get into it, but it's nothing that I mean, we were telling thousands of people a day, but they're working on another delivery solution in heavy metropolitan areas. So
Gotcha.
really a micro drop off. So, anyways, so we work for a lot of very big, sophisticated companies that just don't feel like they've got this outbound outreach solution.
I was gonna, that's the next area that I'd like to talk about a little bit, and here's how I'd like to start it. Not too long ago, we were hit with the pandemic, and I'd like to get your pre and post perspective. I don't. One first question is I don't know how Acquirent was impacted by the pandemic. If you want to share that, that'd be great. And the second question to that is I want to get your pre and post perspective on how outsourced sales has transitioned from pre and post.
So, you were in our office many times, probably over the years, on different meetings or
Different
something like
floors,
that.
right. Yep.
Yeah, and it was a big floor, 100 some odd people there, picking up the phone, and it was buzzing. We got hammered, and fortunately, we had really good tech, and we were able to go home. But we lost like 40% of our revenue in 6 weeks. Our
Wow.
clients just went, we had to downsize, we had to shut it down. Nobody knew what was going on, and that was a lot. That we were not alone. There were a lot of industries that went
No, you were.
went through
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we came back pretty quickly. It's cooled again. I mean, this tech. A lot of our companies are tech. They're the migration towards getting to profitability versus just race to the accelerate revenue has changed.
Gotcha.
So the business is cooled across the industry.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's been COVID. We got hammered. Good recovery. We're cooling down, and we're hoping to come back. So it was 23 was a tough year for us.
Okay. And it's cooling down because repeat what you said. I want to make sure
So
folk, the
so we work
listeners are
for a lot
hearing
of
it.
companies that are venture backed, and a lot
Gotcha.
of these companies pre 23 were like, we're throwing money at sales, we're throwing money at marketing, we're throwing money at the top. We got to prove to our investors that this company is real. I don't care what the bottom line loss is. We've got to grow top line revenue. And 23 that changed. Where companies said, hey, we got to lower our burn. We've got to extend our our lifeline as a company, and so that definitely cooled. That's had an impact on the whole outsourced sales business, as because so much of what we do is work for the tech sector.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so with that, I would assume, and thank you for that answer. Has AI impacted the sales space?
It's a great question. It has. It is definitely impacted a lot of inbound sales motion, right? It helps. AI has allowed these inbound sales opportunities to help companies prioritize who are the better prospects. Um, and I'll give you a quick example. We've got a company that is created a insurance wallet, and
Gotcha.
they create these insurance wallets called Marble, and they create these insurance wallets for people, and they're free. People go and put their information. They store their digital insurance, Progressive, Allstate, State Farm,
Right.
all these companies, yeah, in a digital wallet, so they have it if they need it. And what they sign up for is the ability to the technology to read it. And when your insurance is coming up for renewal, they say, Keith, your auto policy is coming up in a month. We can save you money. Are you interested? Like, Of course,
Right.
you're interested. But
Right.
then you have to go through a questionnaire, and they know that they're going to save you money. But if you've had a speeding ticket or a driver's accident in the last 2 years,
Right.
you're not likely to. The quote we have is not going to be uh, relevant. So it's allows the salespeople that are getting these leads or people saying, "Sure, I'm interested," to prioritize if they, the people that haven't had the claims.
Okay.
That's a way that AI has helped the salesperson identify who's more likely to be a good prospect based on whatever parameters. In this case, claims experience. Um, on the but there are some others on the outbound, which is more what we do. It's a little less impactful so far. We're all watching, but there's tremendous ability to use. We've got these sequence creators
Yeah.
using uh, voicemail or calls, voicemails, and emails on
Gotcha.
that sequencing that's following, which is so important in sales. And so, what the AI can help us do is help organize, who's opening our emails
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
who's responding to some of the outreach that we've got, and so that's helping. But I think we're still a little bit off in that area because we're doing the outreach.
Well, Joe, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit, and you have much more insight than I do. I've been selling my whole life as well, and one of the things that I know is I don't think people appreciate the how much grit it takes on sales. Um, when people have problems, they have problems, and they know, and they're going to make an acquisition or purchase pretty quickly. I'm talking about the venture-backed firms. Um, when you talk about getting your product out, uh, two spaces. One, you're new and you're a change agent. People don't know what that is, and it's a pretty high cost to convert the marketplace. The second thing is, what other alternative do you have? I mean, to put real salespeople and hire a sales force is a truly expensive endeavor. And so, is it a market with the venture back firms that you think is going to swing back eventually, or
For sure.
is the AI components shaking things up that these guys think that they can get mileage out of AI before they hit either your model or hiring their own sales team?
Well, if I haven't figured it out, I'm sure a technologist in a venture-backed company is probably not figured it out as well because I'm thinking about a lot more than they are. But
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
they're a lot smarter than I am. So that's maybe that's a gross overstatement. But um, you know, the outsourced sales model in a venture firm where you still have the founder selling is a great model because that the founders shouldn't be doing that high level prospecting, right? The outsourced sales companies oftentimes are kind of building the top of the sales funnel, and the founder or the early salespeople shouldn't be doing that. They should be either bringing it in house and having people do that, or outsourcing it. Again, in a lot of tech sales, and I know you know this. You've got marketing, which is one function, and you've got kind of a lead generation. Oftentimes, you have a demo person, and then you've got a closer, right? So back in the day when there was when marketing was always kind of standalone, but when most people did their own prospecting, their own demos, their own presentations, they acquired the client, they took care of them, they did that. Often, a lot of these tech companies are being built so it's different. It's top of the funnel, it's demonstrations, it's closing, it's onboarding, it's client success. So there's lots of pieces, and that works, right? I mean, I don't. Um,
Yeah.
I'm a good salesman, but I don't need to be doing all that. So,
Gotcha.
a lot of these tech companies are built so that they're you're passing people through who are expert at what they're doing, right? I mean, the prospector's got a little bit different skill set and maybe experience level than somebody who's doing bottom of the funnel closing.
That is really insightful, and I think people,
Really?
well, in my mind, because what I want to talk about next is, you know, for the listening public, who is the proper company industry, um, for who should be thinking about talking to you and Acquirent to help them. And so, in my mind, you know, running my own company, I'm acquiring them. I'm integrating them. I'm doing all of it. I, I have some folks within the organization that I'm working with, but it falls on a few people.
Yeah.
And, and so, as I think about, my clients, I can naturally think of some that could really use your services. And so, tell the listening public what type of industry should definitely be looking at someone like you and Acquirent.
Well, certainly the tech space is always people that are trying to sell technology into a vertical or any place is they've adopted the quickest for us. Um, because that's just kind of more adopted into the culture and accepted on that. But we have one of our biggest teams for enterprise, right? And that's not exactly a tech company. I mean, they rent a few cars, right? But
Okay.
Amazon. Why do they need Acquirement? It's unique, but so there's a lot of companies that are looking for that top of the funnel help and and customer acquisition. That's where we play. Like I mean, um, like a law firm would come to us or an accounting firm. It's not a great because so much of what they do is based on their reputation and their networking and their ability to navigate and leverage their networks. That's really how they grow. So we're not a great fit in those types of industries. But if you're selling something that it's a good fit.
Well, it makes sense to me because I'll tell you, I absolutely hate. I can tell when AI is interacting with me, and it feels robotic is the word that comes to my mind versus talking a little bit about your lead generation business, because when I went to your website you have a number of different components. You get on the phone, you can close, you can lead generate, and and I think in a conversation you can have and get a lot of information when you're talking to a particular prospect.
Yeah,
Is there and I think there's some truth in that, and I think as these companies, every company wants to close because that means there's a cash transaction. But there's also a lot of depth in massaging a prospect along, because some of these companies have very long sales cycles.
right.
Um, and so I would assume that you can help shorten a company's sales cycle or find the truth in it, because I can
Right.
tell you, or to talk a little bit about that, because
Well,
we're
I mean,
gonna.
you're exactly right. There's so many of these companies need people that just continue to keep in touch. Right. Sometimes we create a lead for a company that would have a long sales cycle, and we'll participate in the demo and the conversation with the account executive, the salesperson, and then somebody may say, "Hey, um, this is great. We love this, but this is really a next year project." And so they'll put that nurture back on us to say, hey, like every month, I want a call or I want this article sent to them. We're going to work with marketing to make sure that we've got information that we can be doing. But that art of that follow up and that rhythm and making sure you're not forgotten and that if they decide to go sooner, that you're on the short list that they want to call is a really important function as well.
And Joe, is your reach global?
North America.
North America. Okay, that's good. And so, I out of the respect of time, we're down to a last couple of questions. What's next for Joe Flanagan and Acquirent? Is it different? Is it the same? I mean, I've known you as quite some time here, and I don't see you entering your seventh year. To me, you're just like, you said you had a 7, 8, or 8 to 10 year run. Um, You
That's
still got a boatload of energy. What's next for Joe Flanagan?
That's a great question. I'm involved with a distributed venture, which is a venture firm that invests in insurtech, fintech, and benefits tech. And
Hmm.
I'm their growth partner, and I'm spending a fair amount of time with those companies. And it's been a tremendous amount of fun. Again, back into working with these smaller organizations and helping them recruit, helping them train, helping them manage this growing their sales organization. Right. This is something that's been a lot of fun. I've gotten involved recently and working with these companies. So it's been a lot of fun. But what is in my? I just heard uh, Jane Fonda interviewed by Julia Louise Dreyfus. I was driving across the great state
Okay.
of Florida from east to west,
Okay.
and she talked about Jane Fonda talked about her third act. And
Okay.
so, the 0 to 30 was for Act One, 30 to 60 is Act Two. She's 70 or 80. She's 85. But,
Right. Right.
I'm thinking about my third act and what that's going to be because I do think I have another 10 years and Acquirent on more solid footing. I love working with distributed in these organizations. So, but I'm active in different charitable philanthropic causes and the most important thing that's happened to me last year is I became a grandfather.
Oh,
And so
congratulations.
I live very close to my grandson and my daughter and her husband, and so I get to see them all the time, and it is being a father was great, but
Yeah. I'm
being
a
a grandfather
grandfather
is
as well.
pretty
Right.
special.
I'm a grandfather as well, and I can really appreciate that. Well, Joe, we're at the end of our time, and you look like you're just enjoying yourself because I believe you're in the great state of Florida, correct?
I'm in the great state of Florida. Yes, I'm here for a couple of weeks working, getting out of the Evanston Gray.
Yes.
I miss my Wildcats. I wish my Wildcats. The Cats are playing good ball.
I'm gonna let you have the Wildcats. I'm a Badger through and through, baby.
You can't appreciate the Cats this year. And some of the good.
I can, but it's just it. Well, yeah, I can. I like Northwestern. I got a lot of love for them, and I just want the Big Ten to be successful. Like they were in football. I love the fact that Michigan got it done, and I don't want to deviate from what we're talking about to talk about sports, but go Northwestern, go Big Ten, go Badgers. You said it. But Joe,
Absolutely.
I just want to give you a parting word. So if people want to reach out and talk to you or Acquirent, how do they reach you?
You can go to the Acquirent website, acquirent.com, or hit me on LinkedIn.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joe Flanagan. Joe, thank you so much, and you have a great
Keith,
day.
great to be with you as always. It's been a pleasure to know you for all these years, and I'll be back in town shortly.
Okay, buddy. You take care. Thanks for listening to The Next Big Thing. I'm your host, Keith D. Terry. If you've enjoyed this episode and you'd like to support this podcast, please share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and a review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on my YouTube channel at Keith D. Terry. If you want to recommend a guest, please email me at info@terryperformancegroup.com. This has been produced by your host and Jade Productions.